Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Sesha Srinivasan. I'm the faculty here at Florida Polytechnic and also the chair of the Natural Sciences Department. Today I'm going to just tour around our Florida Polytechnic capabilities, experimental characterization, synthesis characterization facilities. What you see the first stop is our X-ray diffraction instrument, which is of $500,000 instrument. This is a smart lab from Rigacum. This is a X-ray diffraction which gives information about the crystal structure of any materials, polymers, thin films, reflectometry, and particle size analyzer, and many other things. This has got a great features about the optimizing your parameters by using a different setup in here. So this we use heavily for graduate research as well as undergraduate research for working for any of the powder samples, thin film samples and polymer samples to look for the crystal structure identification, phase analysis, and etc. And there is a software which is available which is support that refinement of the software tells about the analysis of what your phases look like, what are the particle sizes, average crystallite sizes, and strain and stress factors, etc. Again, this tool is one other X-ray diffractometer which is called Miniflex 600. This is the smallest version of what I have shown on the smart lab. So we have an X-ray diffraction instrument where we analyze the samples, powder samples. We place up to 6 samples and look at the crystal structures and many informations. So this tool is highly useful for understanding the crystal structure and phase analysis. You are here, what you see is a scanning electron microscope. This is a very high-end tool from Hitachi, that is SU3500. This has got its detector which is called a EDS detector, which will give you the chemical composition of any material. For example, if we take a thermochromic material, then what's the amount of concentration like carbon, oxygen, many elements. And there is an electron gun which can shoot up to 25 kilovolts, and then that will image your picture. What you see on the monitor is a nanoparticle of thermochromic nanoparticle, where you see the dimensions about 5.73 micrometers, what you can see on the monitor as well on the wall. This is very capable to work under the variable pressures, not only under the vacuum. You can increase up to 600 psi of pressure inside the chamber, so that you can study the sample which are very reactive, sensitive to moisture and air, and then we can do all kind of samples up to different dimensions. It could handle from thin films, powders, sample of different thicknesses. We can have it as the sample specimens. So this is a high-end tool. Again, we try to look for morphology, microstructure, and chemical analysis, elemental composition by using SEM and EDS. So this is a great technique for our graduate students and undergraduate students work on their research projects and thesis projects. So another one of the high-end tool what we have is called low voltage electron microscope. This is a low voltage electron microscope which has a transmission beam. The electron comes and transmits through your samples, and you can get your powder diffraction, electron diffraction of your crystal samples. Also, we can try to find the nanostructures by using a transmission electron microscopy. This has got a variable adjustments. It can go up to 300,000 of magnification. Then we can use it for understanding your microstructure and also to understand the crystal diffraction, if it is a single crystal or polycrystal or polymer samples. We can try to do nanoparticles as well. This instrument is from Agilent Technologies of the Curie Eclipse fluorescence spectrometer. This machine will provide you the fluorescent nature or the emission and the excitation spectroscopic results of our liquid samples as well as solid samples. What you see the solid sample here, that gives a fluorescent characteristic of a solid, and we try to use this for our understanding thermochromic and as well as many of the fluorescent characteristic materials. So what you see a little tool here from Rigaku, which is called X-ray fluorescence. So X-ray fluorescence is useful for understanding the chemical composition of your materials. We use many materials like dolomites or calcium magnesium carbonates, or we use thermochromic materials or polymeric materials. Then we use this X-ray tool to understand the chemistry of it, what are the composition, and in terms of percentage, then we can also quantify with the gas involved in those solid samples. So this is a nice tool for complementing whatever we get from the EDS, which will also confirm and compare it with the X-ray XRF results. So we have again Agilent Technologies carrying FTIR, Fourier Transform Infrared Spectrometer, which gives compositional variations in environmental chemistry of how the sample at different stages of calcination or different stages of preparations and reaction conditions. So we use this technique to understand about the chemistry of it, what are the bonds breaking and making of the bonds while during reactions like thermochromic mechanism, before color change or after color change, what is the chemistry of it, so that we can correlate with our investigation of observation of color change or any other properties. So this is we use heavily for all our research. Hey, this one is again we use for nanotechnology related research. This is called atomic force microscope. The atomic force microscope work under the condition of a laser beam with the pressure induced sensor. The atomic force microscope will provide the surface roughness as well as the atomic dimension of your thin solid films. Then we use it for characterizing that how uniform your thin film and solid samples, so that we can use it for your applications or devices. So this is again one of our very good capabilities of fluoropoly. And then I want to show some of our recently synthesized encapsulated thermochromic materials. So these are polymer encapsulated thermochromic material, which is pretty much a polymer encapsulated the leucodye. Then we use it for our encapsulation technique. The second one is the phase change materials. This one is a phase change material called ecocene. Ecocene is work around transition around 44 degrees. However, if you do encapsulation with encapsulating the ecocene with the TiO2, then we get a very solid sample which is encapsulated the ecocene on the TiO2 layer that we captured, and then we try to look for the transition and other characteristics. Thank you. These are the features of our characterization labs. This is a lab which is called a wet chemistry lab, a research lab. In this, the fume hood, we have a couple of synthesis tools. The one we use heavily for high-speed stirring. This is called Omni International Stirrer. This will go up to 25,000 RPM. So it's a high-speed spinning by the rod in here, and then we can go for high-speed spinning for any amount of time. So this we use it for synthesis of our polymeric as well as organic thermochromic material for synthesis of encapsulation. The second thing what we have is ozonizer. The ozonizer will help for either treating the sample like a leucodye, which is encapsulated with the polymer. Then we can break those polymer, and then we can use it for exposing the sites for bonding with the encapsulant or the surfactant. And synthesis started for the encapsulation procedure. The one what I want to show is silica encapsulated thermochromic and polymeric organic material. This is a thermochromic material which is encapsulated. You see a gel which is floating. This gel could be used in a paints, or probably it could be used in the thin films, or you can use it on a rooftop or walls and use this as a encapsulation technique. that we prepare by using our wet chemistry synthesis technique. Thank you very much. We also have a couple of vacuum furnaces for drying the samples and then heating the samples. What you see in here is a two-chamber the glove box. The glove box is good for making samples under inert condition. Like you are less moisture, you pretty much work under the nitrogen ambient. We have a sample preparation, drying and wetting, everything done within the glove box. Now we have, due to some maintenance, the glove box is under the maintenance condition right now. So we will use it for the research. What you see in here is a 4-station planetary ball mill. This ball mill is purchased from Rust Instruments. This planetary ball mill can rotate up to different speed, up to 800 RPM to 1000 RPM. We could also have the ball mill with purging with a different inert gas and reactive gases, so that it can work independently or dependently. Then probably we can get the nanoparticle synthesis, or post-processing can be done with the ball mill, so that it will have a less effect on solvents and surfactants, and then we can use a dry condition to powder the samples for polymeric material. It's fully controlled by the automation, so that you can get your mixture done for example 70 hours or 25 hours. It depends on your time duration, etc. This is a nice tool for solid state mechanical milling of nanomaterials. What you see is our environmental chamber. The environmental chamber, which can go up to different temperatures up to 100 degrees or 125 degrees or more than that. Then it can also control the relative humidity inside the chamber. We use this for understanding the color chromatism of your thermochromic dye encapsulator or pre-encapsulator. So this thermochromic dye, we wanted to study the under different humidity like solar conditions. Then we use this chamber. At the same time, we will also have this handheld monitor. This will give you the CIE lab, that is color coordinates. So whenever you heat the sample and then try to put this sample in here, then we can get the color coordinate. So the color chromatism data will come here. Then that will tell you about whether the encapsulation is successful. What you see in here, the chromatic data will be observed on real time. By keeping the humidity and then the temperature, then we can measure, we get the number like a LAB. The L is a lightness index, A coordinate, B coordinate, and that tells about where is the color, whether the color transition occurs for the thermochromic material or any organic polymer paints, etc. So this is a nice instrument for getting the instantaneous results about your changes in the color with the chemical composition. So this, what you see is a centrifuge. The centrifuge will use it for the liquid sample with the solid dispersion. We will filter the solid dispersion and use it as our encapsulated material, and then what you get is the liquid supernatant liquid, which we will use it for recycling or other purposes. So centrifuge is used for this project to get your filtration done in a systemic way, so that you can get all your encapsulated materials freshly prepared and use it for your applications. So this instrument is called Nano 3D printer. One of our professors, Dr. Nicoletta Hickman, owns this instrument. And this Nano 3D printer, we use any of the nano inks. This instrument is used for primarily preparing for nano inks. The nano inks prepared and then coated on a thin film. This is the thin film what you see on that scope, where you will see that the thin film is formed by the nano ink printed by this 3D printer. So this is useful for the solar photovoltaics as well as many of the outdoor applications, where 3D printed inks, they use for coating on a layer. Then you can use it for testing for your aging cycles and accelerator testing. What you see is your thin film making by a nebulizer. The nebulizer solution will go in here, and then there is a substrate which goes, and the substrate gets heats up. Then you can spray coat your solution onto the substrate. then you can use it as a thin film to study its homogeneity. Then we have coated with a thin film, like a layer of the very thin layer of carbon graphene coated onto the substrate. Then we use it for studying its properties and structure relations. So this is highly useful. It's a very indigenous that we can use it for getting your thin film fabrications process. All right, so here this tool is called a thermogravimetric analysis or analyzer. This is the heart of the instrument for this lab. This is a very highly sensitive sensitive balance. This is a microbalance which can go up to milligrams level of sample size and sample weight. We use this balance to know about what is the thermogravimetric change, the weight loss analysis after heating the sample, or what is the heat flow characteristics. What you see here, this is an encapsulated polymer sample. It has when you heat the sample, this goes to a transition around 43 degrees, and then when you cool the sample, it crystallizes back around 34 to 35 degrees. So we have done for a couple of cycles to show that the heating and cooling cycle is going on reversibly, the color change property, and moreover it's not affected by melting. Because of encapsulated material, the sample not get melted. We have many samples which we try to understand the chemistry. This is an encapsulated material. This is a titanium dioxide dope with ecosane. So many samples we tried and then tried to understand the thermal analysis and differential scanning calorimetric analysis about what is the transition, phase transition due to latent heat transition or phase transition due to the chemical bond breaking and making of a chemical structure. So this is out of our characterization lab as well. We have also fabricated in-house a photocatalytic batch reactor. This is a batch reactor where it can treat the wastewater treatment by our some other different project. Then we use a couple of UV light sources for using the intensity available for the wastewater. At the same time, we develop a photocatalyst that can work in sync with the light source. So when we start with our contaminated water, what you see on the green and the yellow color contaminated water, we try to use a contaminated waste stream of water. Now we are also trying with a leachate from the landfill. Then we try to use this batch reactor under the sunlight or the UV light source and the photocatalyst. You see there is a discoloration or decoloration of this the methyl orange. That's like a model contaminant. It goes, and then at the end of the day you will get the clean water, or at least the water which you could use it for the irrigation purpose. So that's the research. We are funded with the Hinckley Center for Solid Waste and Hazardous Management. We tried to develop a couple of batch reactors. The wastewater remediation batch reactor I showed, oftentimes the batch reactor can work in the lab, but we also need on-site reactor which can take an incoming wastewater stream like a leachate and then use it for treatment. Then we created a continuous flow reactor where there are black lights inside. There's two models available right now. These batch reactors and the continuous flow reactor will take incoming wastewater stream with the contaminated water and then expose to the sunlight, and the catalyst available. Then we can get out reverse recycled back and forth so that you can get your purification done or remediation done for the leachate samples. One of the project we are using for the biodiesel production, the biodiesel production by using algae. The algae were used and then processed and then use this hydrothermal process. The hydrothermal reactor which can go up to 400 degrees C and also keep up to 300 psi of your pressure inside. So we used to cook this algae and then try to under the process of hydrothermal, then we can use it for to establishing the biofuel production and to analyze the characteristic of the biofuel in a chemistry lab within the Florida Polytechnic. So this is a furnace bay or the oven bay. What you see on my left is your GSL 1600X furnace, which can go with the manipulation of different gases inside. So you can have a different gas line, can go and create a tubular type of furnace where you can create a reaction. Then it's a fully controlled for using for different manipulation of the humidity, temperature, current and voltage, etc. So that's a nice tool for creating any samples like a graphene create in the lab. Then we can use this type of furnaces. On your right, the first one what you see is a muffle furnace. Muffle furnace can go up to 1100 degrees because sometimes we used to prepare our fluorescent materials. Then we use this up to 1100 degrees C to create the structure or materials. So we use the second one what you see is your microwave. The microwave furnace which can work within a short frame so that you can create your sample structure what you want, and then the regular oven which always turn on for keeping drying your glasswares and samples, etc. So this is a nice suite where we can have your wet lab as well as the drying by using furnaces. So in line with the different furnace characteristic, we also have a vacuum control oven, so that this you wanted to vaporize any of the solvent or volatile compounds, you can put it inside and then connect the fume hood, then it's safely vaporized and then evacuated, so that your sample is more like a moisture free and you can use it for further applications. What you see is your solar simulator. The solar simulator has got a halogen lamp inside. Then we use it for photoelectric effect, basically for a master's project, or probably we use it for the aging studies like accelerated testing of organic polymeric materials. But this instrument is still under construction or probably under maintenance. Then we need to do some parts and pieces so that the instrument can come up online for the project. What you see is a regular chemistry lab with a fume hood, but this lab we use heavily for getting all your chemical reactions and filtrations and Soxhlet preparation of synthesis of polymeric organic thermochromic materials. So we use a high reflux process to get these materials. This is couple of 3-component systems with organic polymer encapsulated with polymeric materials, and there are some materials we use for no PMMA, that's a polymeric encapsulation again. So we have seen that these materials have responded to the transition temperatures. I will just compare it. This is 2 different polymers we use and then try to get this encapsulated on the thermochromic 3-component system. So we use this lamp for providing the capability. All right, so what you see is just an incubation chamber. We bought this from the Hinckley funded project. This is we use for the biological oxygen demand in wastewater and leachate samples. So probably this heat up to 150 degrees C in an incubation chamber, and then use our UV analysis to get your BOD and COD to understand the biological oxygen demand and chemical oxygen demand in our wastewater samples. And what you see, the next one is again the same vacuum furnace. This vacuum oven is connected to the fume hood. We use it for heavily for drying purposes as well as for filtration, etc. So this is one other solar simulator which is under working condition. So we use a solar simulator. There is a 500 watts halogen light source in here that's exposed to your samples. Initially we tried to do many samples like a wastewater sample and a solar photocatalysis, or we also use it for our thermochromic materials. The thermochromic materials or polymeric materials can put it underneath with a chamber. Now we are thinking to create an environmental chamber so that that can go in underneath this, and then we can manipulate the relative humidity and temperature. Then under the practical conditions we can study the accelerated aging testing using the solar simulated light source, and then the accessories available so we can get the real-time data. So far we have done in the past just to look for the photocatalysis treatment and the solar light. This is after treatment, and this one is before treatment, or maybe intermediate thing. The one of the project we are working on, the PFAS and PFOS removal in wastewater removal, fluoral alkyl substances. We use this for solar simulator. In this project, we will try to use it for accelerated testing and aging studies. So what you see on here, little spectrometer, there's a Hawk instrument, DRV 200. This instrument will use it for understand our COD and BOD, what I explained a few minutes ago in the incubation chamber. This also we keep it as a COD incubation chamber. We try to use the wastewater stream and try to look for the reactants where there's a color change that can correlate with the numbers what we get from the COD number from this spectrometer. But you see there's a dark color and then the light that tells about that how much is your chemical oxygen demand in the sample. Then we can analyze how contaminated the water is. So this we use it for another project. So this is one other tool which is called dynamic laser light scattering, DLS. The DLS instrument which you use to analyze your particle sizes in solution, dispersed solution. For example, if you have any solution which is dispersed with nanoparticles, then we try to use this into the DLS machine. Then you can find out the particle sizes on an average about the micron size or the nanometric size. Then we can use it to understand with the crystal structure information what we get from XRD, then correlate those things and to understand the fine dispersion of the organic chromatic polymers in paint or pigments or any other solution medium. Thank you.